Welcome to the first episode of the Encouragement for Photographers podcast. My name is Claire, and I am so excited that you are here. This has been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to use this format to introduce you to this new resource for photographers. The purpose of this podcast is pretty straightforward. It's to encourage photographers to create incredible businesses that also allow them to be present with their families. My mission here is really to help as many women and men work part-time and make a full-time salary as possible. As a young mom myself, I have definitely experienced just how important that is. So today, I wanted to share a bit of my story, and maybe shed some light on what it looks like to run a photography business. Also, it's just fun. So when I was a senior in college, I was working at a marketing department at our school. I was an on-staff photographer. I did a lot of events on campus, and I even got some cool backstage passes to some of our concerts. I remember dreaming of photographing weddings, looking at countless blogs, and was just really eager to get my hands on any opportunity I could. In November 2014, I commented on a Facebook post about another student needing a wedding photographer. They said it could be an art student and they didn't have high expectations. I was like, awesome, I've never done this before. So I only charged them $900 for an engagement session and a full day of wedding photography. I will never, ever forget that wedding. Not because it was particularly jaw-dropping, but because someone took a chance on me. And after 9 years, I still have that feeling in my DNA. Like, I get to do this. I get to take photos at a wedding. These people trust me. I know that weddings are just this monumental event for couples. It's a really important day for them. So I still feel so honored to get to do it. That following spring, I did about 5 friends' weddings and steadily increased my prices over the next few years. So flash forward to now, almost exactly 9 years later, and I am photographing events in Washington, D.C., booking weddings at an average of about $9,000 per event. Much different weddings, a much different business model. And really the middle part of that story is what matters, though. It's the part that is hard and mysterious and just takes a lot of pushing and consistent work. So I wanted to mention 4 things that were monumental to growing and evolving as a business, and hopefully these will be encouraging to you no matter where you are in your journey. Number 1, I practiced a lot. Like a lot. I was hungry for any opportunity I could get. I second shot. I interned with a photographer for free for one wedding season. I would pull friends to practice engagement sessions, even though they weren't engagement sessions. I picked people up before 5 a.m. to practice with early morning light. I rented a lot of different equipment. And I just fell in love with photography and how it allowed me to interact with people. Number 2, early on, I diversified. I was newly married in the winter of 2016, and I decided to go, quote unquote, full-time with photography. I really wanted to devote time and effort to making the business real, but just because I had an open schedule did not mean I was hitting my revenue goals. So I decided to start an editing business. I had Lightroom, I had a laptop, I had the skills, so it was something that I could do on the side that was really, really flexible. So I slowly built up a photo editing business for other photographers, and that ended up doubling my income for the year. That was my extra cushion, and that's what allowed me to have that flexibility instead of getting a 9-to-5, so I could still network with people. I could still take on photo shoots kind of whenever I needed to, and it allowed me to continue. Number 3, I hired coaches. I've hired several different coaches, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the only way I pushed through doubt and confusion was having the help and accountability of someone else that was outside of my business. Mentally, it was such a significant jump for me to go from charging $2,000 to $4,000 for weddings. When I finally got over the $5,000 mark into $6,000, that was a huge mental shift for me. And now my lowest package is about $7,500. So every time I was increasing my prices, there was a lot of confusion. There were inquiry slumps, there was booking slumps, and it just took a lot of encouragement from coaches to help me keep going and pushing forward. Those coaches were better than any course I could have bought and really helped me with the quote-unquote business side of doing wedding photography. Lastly, I wanted to mention my 4th thing that was monumental to helping me grow, which was time in the marketplace. So when it comes to building a brand that offers a premium product with such high emotional value, there's no shortcut that beats time. Time allows relationships to flourish, and it builds trust that you are consistent. This isn't what new business owners want to hear, but it's just true. In the wedding world, particularly in the premium market of events around $100,000, there's something called the 18-month rule. The 18-month rule essentially means that when you make a connection, maybe with a planner or a venue, it will probably take 18 months to see the fruit of that. So hypothetically, if you want to book 15 weddings in 2025, the time to network and build trust with those vendor partners is now. So if you say you got coffee with someone today, and within the next 6 months, they thought of your name when they had potential couples they were working with. So maybe 6 months from now, they mentioned to a client that's booking their wedding 12 months from that point, like, oh, hey, you should hire Claire. So really, the conversation you have today will help you photograph a wedding 18 months from now. That's essentially what that rule means. When I look at the big picture of the last 9 years, the small, consistent things were really what added up to making the business work. Like doing the flow of a wedding day more than 200 times, you cannot do that in a day. You just have to do that over time. Another thing, like practicing inquiry calls hundreds of times, hundreds and hundreds of times of talking to new couples, of really encouraging them, getting to know their story, really having the confidence to share what you offer with them. You just need to practice that. Lastly, another thing, I have edited almost 1 million images at this point in the last decade. So I've done it so many times that I can do it like the back of my hand. So I have a book recommendation for you if that all sounds like it doesn't matter. It really does. The little tiny things. It's called Compound Effect. Highly, highly recommend reading this book. I will link it in the description below. But basically, it just reiterates over and over and over that the small things you do today really add up to what your business and life will look like 9 years from now. So I think they have one example in that book that mentions, like, if you're on a plane leaving from LA and you are supposed to go to New York, if your course is 1% to the right, you will end up in Washington, D.C. Something to that effect. Like that small, teeny, tiny degree of change really affects the destination you will end up at. So anyway, read the book. It's great. So I am so excited to share more encouragement through this podcast format moving forward, and just thought it would be fun to share a little bit about how I got here. So feel free to reach out with any questions or topics you want to hear more about in future episodes, and I will see you next time.